Back to a special edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakesick.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and please subscribe. If you're listening to us on our audio platforms, please give us a 5-star rating and please download this episode and more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe. I'm thrilled to welcome our latest guest. He is a writer, director, and filmmaker. He's also a veteran reality TV producer for Hell's Kitchen and Big Brother, and his latest project, Killing Mary Sue, is being distributed this June through Samuel Goldwyn Films. Please help me welcome James Sunshine to the podcast.
Hey, you make me feel like there should be like a studio audience or something clapping with that intro, you know?
Yeah, I've always grew up with the Live at the Regis and Kelly, the Rosie O'Donnell show, and Arsenio Hall. So you have to have that energy, that oomph.
Yeah, I can tell.
Awesome. So, James, thank you so much for taking time in your schedule today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about stuff.
Awesome. I'm very excited because you've actually been on, because when I'm with, like you said, the Hell's Kitchen, Big Brother, I watched those shows for a long time, so I cannot be talked about them. So, but however, before we get to those shows, let's talk about when did you get interested in the media industry? How did you, that passion evolve and desire to pursue a career in our industry?
You know what? That's like, not to give you a hard time, but I actually hate when people ask me that question, even though it's like a very common question. And the reason I hate it is because usually when people get that question, they always have some like big grand story of like, oh, I was 10 years old and I saw Star Wars, or I was this age and I saw this movie and I knew from that point forward that I was going to do that, and that type of thing. And like my story is so boring. It's
really, really?
As far back as I can remember, to my youngest years, like 3-4 years old, I just remember sitting in front of the TV, watching movies, and just thinking to myself, yeah, I'll be doing that. You know, there was no like spark or genesis or anything like that, like you hear a lot of filmmakers or actors talk about. It was kind of just like literally as far back as I can remember, it's just been like a foregone conclusion that I would be doing this work, you know?
I gotta say this, James. You and me are in the same boat, because the thing is, when I was it's like when my parents were able to let me watch like Live with Regis and Kathy Lee, and later Live with Regis and Kelly, and the Rosie O'Donnell show, and also Oprah. It was the same thing. In fact, when I was 3, my folks made a TV box, and it was Donahue. On one side it was Donahue, the second side was Sally Jessy Raphael, and the third side was Oprah. And then the fourth side was me.
That's great. Yeah. Sometimes I'll hear people's stories and they'll go, yeah, when I was 12, I saw such and such and I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. And my first thought is just like, wait, you didn't want to be a filmmaker before that? Why not? It's like the coolest thing ever, you know?
Awesome. So, as I alluded to in my introduction, you worked on several well-known reality TV shows. 2 of them I adore watching. It's been for you, bits and pieces all the time. But you worked for a decade as a producer on Gordon Ramsay's infamous Hell's Kitchen. So
Yes.
What were some of your most memorable moments working on this set? Because in all honesty, I do not want to be around Gordon Ramsay when he's angry.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Chef Ramsay is actually a very cool, very down-to-earth person, at least as far as to his crew. You know, like I can't attest to like talking to him just casually in person in the wild, but you know, he's such a veteran of this industry of TV. He knows he's got to treat his film crew, his TV crews well, you know. So I've had nothing but good experiences with the guy. But yeah, Hell's Kitchen has kind of been my bread and butter of reality TV for over a decade at this point. I've produced 6 seasons of it. Honestly, my favorite thing about working on that show is just the people. There's a very common group of producers, executive producers, and a lot of them tend to come back season after season after season. So it's like I can almost compare it to like summer camp or something. You know, when I was a kid, I would go to a sleepaway summer camp, and I would have all my friends there, and then we'd go away to school for the rest of the year, and we'd kind of miss each other, and then we'd all get back together at summer camp the next year. And that's kind of what Hell's Kitchen is like in a certain way. I love seeing all the people there producing stuff together with them. And yeah, I don't know, best experiences. One of the reasons that I love making Hell's Kitchen and Big Brother and shows like that is actually just because they have such a big fan base. One of my favorite things to do is when the seasons are airing, go on websites like Reddit and read the fan discussions in the forums for these episodes that I've had such an integral part of making, and see exactly how people are responding to it, you know? And it's really satisfying. Sometimes you do smaller shows in the reality TV space, which are so much fun to produce, but they don't have the fan base to where you can get kind of the satisfaction of like, how are people actually reacting to this, you know?
I agree. And speaking of one fan base in particular, and they're a very difficult group of people, I'm talking about the Big Brother fan base, because next year marks the 10th anniversary of Big Brother 18. As a producer who weaves some of the stories that start some of the biggest names in reality television, social media, I'm talking about Nicole Franzel Arroyo, Victor Arroyo, Jake's Take friend Paul Abrahamian, one of my dear friends and beloved guests, Paulie Calafiore, Corey Brooks, Natalie Nitagrati, Davon Rogers, and Jose Flores. So why does this season stand out so much in show history?
You know what? I agree with you. I really think season 18 was one of the better seasons, excuse me, one of the better seasons in the history of Big Brother. And it doesn't get the credit that it deserves a lot. Usually when people talk about what are the best seasons, they'll go to some other ones. But I think 18 deserves to be up there. Like you said, the cast is just great. The characters on that season, it's like just the right amount of pettiness and drama and all that. Like you can't have too much or else it actually becomes a struggle to watch, but you can't have none either. Like you need to find that middle ground, you know? And then the thing that I think really stands out about season 18 of Big Brother that sets it apart is there's two things that I think make a great season of Big Brother. And that is constantly shifting alliances and blind sides. And what I hate to see in a season of Big Brother, I mean, even Big Brother is like pizza. Like even a bad season of Big Brother is still pretty good, you know? But what you hate to see on a show like that is like just you get some big majority alliance and they stay in power every week and they pick people off one at a time. And the people who get evicted know their fate. They know it's coming. And what's great about 18 is shifting alliances. Week to week, people would be in alliances with these people, then in alliances with those people. Week to week, you'd have somebody who was on the block, and then the next week they'd be the HOH, and it just shifts the whole power dynamic. And then from what I remember, most of the weeks when somebody got evicted, their jaw was on the floor. They did not expect it, which twists and blind sides just make for fun TV. So I agree. I think season 18 is like one of the best seasons of all time. But maybe I'm just a little biased because I worked on it, you know?
And the thing is with that season alone, it's like you said, like it's boring when you go into 16 and when you have Derek and Cody and Frankie's alliance. Then you have 20 where you have level 6, which is Tyler, Angela, Casey with JC and Sam on the side. It's in like seeing having the Hive being wiped out one by one.
Yeah.
And then however, it avoids the toxicity of 15, 19, and 21.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you know, on one hand, when you get those seasons with the big alliances that pick people off, like it's admirable, you know, like you respect these people. It's like, oh my God, they're playing the game so well.
Especially Derek with 16 comes to mind.
Yeah. You know, sometimes I think to myself, like, if I were to ever play Big Brother, like I would want to play a game like Derek or Cody, And then I think to myself, man, my season would be kind of, it wouldn't really be too exciting now, would it? So
you have to have a Paul, you have to have a Vanessa, you have to have a Frankie.
yeah, that's the thing is you need chaotic players that are just willing to make moves and backstab and get tied up emotionally and stuff. And that's not good for the people in the house, but it's good for the viewers at home,
Yeah, but however, there are some times where, like, if you look at Big Brother 21 with Nicole, with the Ovi, the Kemi, the David, of all the Nicole thing and all, not to mention the constant 19 battles with Jess and Cody versus Josh and Chris Smith and everything like that. And Paul, those are like different things.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so while I can talk to you about Big Brother all the time. We're not here to talk about Big Brother or the Chenbot or anything or OTEV. We're here to talk about you. So let's get back to our conversation and talk about your film career. So let's start with your debut film, The Coronavirus Conspiracy, which was released during the height of the 2020 lockdown. And it was also the first union-approved independent film to be shot in Los Angeles post-lockdown. So how did you and your team overcome these obstacles to deliver this film successfully?
I mean, just perseverance. That there's so much to that question. Like I could sit here and talk your ear off for 30 minutes about all the things that we had to overcome.
Have
time. But yeah, I mean, the genesis of that film was in the beginning of 2020. There was a completely different film that I was going to shoot, and I got an investor lined up, and it was literally March of 2020, and we were about a month or two away. We had it cast, we had locations, we had all this stuff, and then COVID hit and just like killed everything, and we lost the funding and all this stuff. But I've always been like a glass half full kind of guy, and when I said we had funding, the funding was we were going to be really, really low budget. And I was going to put up half the funding myself. And then we had an investor to put up half the funding. And so being the glass half full type guy, I said, well, I still got the money I was going to put into it, and I looked around, everybody was lamenting the fact that the industry was shut down. And I just kind of asked, well, that means nobody's filming. So what if I can be the only guy who's filming right now, So I wrote a completely new script in lockdown that was about people in lockdown during COVID. And the reason I liked this idea, one of the reasons I liked it, was because it gave story-motivated reasons why we had to comply on camera with all of the restrictions. No gatherings of more than 10 people. You have to wear masks. You have to stand 6 feet apart, And so we came up with this crazy idea, and we pitched it to the studios because we wanted to work with union actors, because SAG union actors are going to get you the best performances. And we got permission from SAG to film in August of 2020, because we talked to them. We said, yeah, they're going to stand 6 feet apart. We're going to do all these things. We even got sponsorship from a PPE company, which was a pretty cool move, I think, on our part to like assure the unions that, hey, we're taking this seriously. We got tested on set, I think, every other day. So yeah, the goal was really to like do whatever we can possible to be the people filming right now, because if we can have a product when nobody else does, you come out on the other end of this and you're the only person that has a film ready to go. Like that's got to count for something, And yeah.
And I'm very impressed that you were able to do all that, and with everything, and with people, and like having the procedures. Because with a film set, with any film set or television set, like I've done like at least 3 days of a film, like a week, like 2 weeks of film, like of a reality show background when X Factor was in Kansas City and Denver. It's like there's so much procedures in play when you're dealing with people. But however, when COVID pandemic's, like you have to have that times 100.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed, that by the end of the summer of 2020, there were 2 types of productions that were getting greenlit again. And that was either the productions that were $200 million and had the ability to test all these people and create zones. I don't know if you remember the zone system, zone A, zone B, zone C, all that. And little no budget productions that were so small that you didn't have to worry about the outbreaks as much. I remember when we were shooting this film, the big thing in the news was that the Batman with Robert Pattinson had also been given the green light to start shooting again. And it was in the middle, I think it was like our second or third production day, we were reading on Deadline about how the Batman had been shut down again because somebody had COVID on their set. But yeah, we were able to keep it so small that we really didn't have those concerns. Like, to give you an idea, we shot a feature-length film in 8 days with a cast and crew of, I think it was 8 people,
Wow.
So we had our 2 lead actors. We had our director of photography, Jeremy. We had like a gaffer / PA to help Jeremy out. We had a sound guy. We had my producer, who was mostly just doing the paperwork and stuff on set. We had our COVID safety officer, right? And then me doing everything else. Like, I was the director, I was the writer, I was the art director, I was the AD, I was the script supervisor. Like, every other position I was filling. And it's because we were so small, so low impact, we weren't affected by the virus. Everybody on our crew and cast was very careful in the month leading up to it to not expose themselves. So by the time it was time for us all to get together and shoot this thing, it was a foregone conclusion. We were going to be able to do it safely,
I applaud you for that, because not a lot of small productions were able to have the ability to have a Warner Brothers Discovery backing them, or a Disney, or a Comcast, NBC Universal back them.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Killing Mary Sue. I really enjoyed it. It was hysterical.
Thank you.
Can you please describe this film to my audience?
Yeah. So, just the plot, or what do you think?
I think the plot would be good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So it's the story of a corrupt senator and his crazy scandal-ridden stepdaughter, and he's running for re-election, and she's all over the news with her partying and her hookups and all of her crazy stuff, and she's about to cost him his re-election. And so the only avenue that he sees to secure victory is to hire assassins to have her killed. He gets to eliminate her from the picture while also playing the sympathy card, going, "Oh my God, my poor little sweet stepdaughter was taken from me." And so he gets to garner the sympathy vote, But then obviously things go wrong. The film is called Killing Mary Sue because it very intentionally plays into the tropes of Mary Sue characters. Mary Sues are this thing, if you're not familiar with it, where it's often a criticism. You've seen it thrown around video games and film all the time. Oh, this girl is a Mary Sue, this character is a Mary Sue. And it's basically, it's a criticism of writing, really, for a character, usually a woman, who is just good at everything for no reason at all. And sometimes when you hear those criticisms, they're right. Sometimes when you hear those criticisms, they're wrong. This film really isn't about adjudicating whether it's right or wrong. What this film was about was I noticed a trend where Mary Sues in film and story and TV always seem to happen by accident. A writer intends to write a character one way, and then they're perceived as a Mary Sue, and it's used as a pejorative. And I said, how come nobody's ever written this type of character on purpose before? And how much fun could be had if a writer and a filmmaker was self-aware that their character was a Mary Sue and it was done intentionally? So that's where the fun of the movie comes in, is this guy is literally trying to kill a literal Mary Sue, and it doesn't work because she's good at everything for no reason at all.
Oh, yeah. And we'll talk about that in a second. But first, we got to talk about the all-star group of performers that you and your team assembled, including Sierra McCormick from American Horror Stories, Dermot Mulroney from Chicago Fire, Sean Patrick Flannery from Nefarious, legend Martin Kove from the Cobra Kai, and more. So how did this cast assemble?
This cast assembled at the literal last minute. Like, I love our cast so much. It's such great faces, so much talent. What's interesting is, like we talked about my last movie, how we had the hurdles of the pandemic. This movie had the hurdles of the actors' strike. We were in a soft development pre-production at the beginning of 2023, and then I want to say in like the beginning of May in 2023, we saw the writing on the wall that the actors were going to strike that summer. And me and my team of producers, we kind of just looked at each other and we said, okay, either we film this next month or we don't film this until next year. And we were not ready to film next month. And we said, to hell with it. We like a challenge. So we threw together pre-production in like 3 weeks. And like we were going into shooting and like did not even have cast or locations or anything, like days before going into it. And it all came together at the last minute. And I like to say, like, there's no reason this film should have come together as well as it did. You know, it just won Best Picture at the Los Angeles Film Festival by IFS. So it's like, we've gotten a great reaction to the film. But that like scattershot last minute approach of putting the film together created a lot of hurdles, but it also created some very unintentional silver linings, which was that we were able to get a great cast because all of these big name actors in Hollywood knew that they were about to not be working for 6 months. And so when a strike is looming in 2 weeks and somebody reaches out to you at the last minute and goes, hey, do you want to do 2 days on this film and pick up a paycheck real quick? A lot of them go, you know what? Yeah, that sounds pretty nice, you know? So yeah, we were able to just get an all-star cast kind of because of the crazy circumstances we were in. And we didn't even get a lot of rehearsal time, but the performances are so good. I think that speaks to how well written the script was. When you have a really well written script, meeting really talented actors who know how to find that depth and nuance in the characters that they're performing, sometimes you don't even need, you know, days and weeks of rehearsals and discussions and things like that, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I gotta do this. I'm sorry, all, but spoilers are ahead. Now,
Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, turn off the interview. Go see the movie.
Thanks, James. Thank you. Appreciate it. And come back to us later. All right, I'm gonna give everybody 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think they're gone. So
yeah, pause.
Let's pause really quick.
And unpause.
All righty. So Mary Sue is a very complicated character when I was watching this, and I gotta say Sierra did a fabulous job. And it's amazing how she transforms into this problem-wrecking person, into this insane assassin with every single thing being thrown at her, from Cable Henry all the way to the Steiner family, all the way to the Steiners. And not to mention that spinning. Oh my God.
Not to mention what? Sorry?
The spinning.
Oh yeah, spinning. That's a good trick. Spinning is a good trick. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty amazing. So how did Sierra make sure that it felt like Mary Sue was more Beatrice Kiddo? Had shades of Beatrice Kiddo.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Sierra is, like we said, we didn't really lock her in until about 2 days before filming began. She worked with a friend of mine, Pat Healy, who's one of the most talented actors that I know. They did a film together. And so we had a casting director kind of shortlist potential actresses for the role. She was on that list. I watched her work. I thought she was good. And when I saw that she'd worked with a friend of mine, I reached out to him. I was like, hey, this girl, Sierra, what's she like? And he was like, oh, she's a rock star. She's got a great sense of humor. She's easy to work with. And I was like, you know, that's all the endorsement that I need. I trust Pat. And, but still I was nervous because, like I said, we didn't get any rehearsal time with her. And when we got on set the first day and I saw her start to perform those scenes as this character, I thought to myself, I was like, oh, this feels like I wrote this character for her. Like it was a perfect match for the material to the actor, and I couldn't have asked for anything better. But yeah, the way that she transforms from kind of a little ditzy girl who doesn't really know what's going on to kind of embracing her role as a badass, was really, really impressive for sure.
Speaking of impressive, let's talk about Dermot Mulroney's Bradley Wiener. Was very, I gotta say this, he played the part excellent, one of the best villains this decade so far. And I gotta say, he's Lex Luthor and Lady Tremaine on steroids.
Yeah, I loved working with Dermot too. He's such a veteran of this industry. And what I loved about this role is, as far as I'd seen, he doesn't really get to flex his comedy chops in a lot of the roles that he winds up in nowadays. Even though he's hilarious, he has such great comedic instincts, and in the chemistry between him and Sierra, even though they hadn't met until the first day of filming, they had this really wonderful chemistry with each other. I don't have enough good things to say about Dermot Mulroney in my time working with him. One of the things that I said to a lot of people as we were shooting this was, even though I had written it and I was directing it, I had probably the least experience on a professional feature film set than most people, all the way down to like the gaffers and the ACs. They had more experience on film sets than me. And so I was very transparent with people. I was like, I have a vision. I know what I want, but I also want to lean on you. If you have ideas or you have things, you want to throw things out there, like I'm here to learn from you just as much as I'm here to give direction, and Dermot was an incredibly valuable wealth of knowledge on this set, for sure.
That's amazing to hear. And I love the inner monologues between the two of them. I'm like, oh my God.
It always gets laughs.
Broadsheet. This is insane. So how did you guys, I know it was like VOs and everything, but like, why did you decide to include those inner monologues? Because I don't think we've seen a thing in a while like
that. I don't know. I wrote the inner monologues just because I had gone through some drafts of the script where the characters' desires just seemed a little soft. There's an interesting thing in that usually a major character in a script has a very specific goal, and it's like, they either pass or they fail. They either get it or they don't. And the more clear and concrete and objective that goal is, the easier it is for your audience to invest in that character. And for Dermot's character, that was very obvious. Like, he wants to kill her. He's either going to succeed or going to fail. Whereas the Mary Sue character, her goals were way more abstract. And I noticed in early drafts of the script that people had a really tough time figuring out what her desires were and what it meant when she would get it versus not. Because her goal was the love of her stepfather, who was trying to kill her. And it's such an abstract idea. And you can't just have a character verbally articulate that, going, well, stepdad, I really just want you to love me. That's lazy writing. But then you put it in the form of an inner monologue, and all of a sudden it feels natural. And then you can have fun with those inner monologues. You can have two monologues from different characters and see the way that they contrast with each other. And now all of a sudden, something that is there purely to deliver exposition and could be seen as lazy in some contexts is now like a pretty funny punchline, So yeah, that was why that was written that way.
Alrighty. One of the biggest twists in the film involves Carrie McDonnell, and I was very surprised that this maid had devious intentions.
Yes. Yeah.
And international devious intentions.
Yep. Yep. I part of me was worried that I was playing my hand too heavy-handed, because here she is. She's just the housekeeper. She has nothing to contribute to the plot, but she's always just there. And I was really worried the audiences were going to be like, oh, there's something up with her. Just wait, something's up with her. And then the more I started to share the film with people, and I would ask them, hey, did you see that coming? The more they would be like, no, I didn't see that coming. And I was like, okay, I guess I did something right. I put her just far enough in the background for people to kind of forget about her,
Oh yeah, and I gotta say that final battle was electrifying. It was like, I was like saying, yes, she didn't, Mary Sue did not take the bait and did not do that, and then killed all of her enemies.
Yeah. We shot that whole final shootout in one day. It was one of the most stressful shoot days of my life. I'd never shot an action scene before doing this film. So it's just a little miracle, I think, that came together as well as it did. And what I really like about that final shootout scene too is, there's a lot of action scenes in the film before that, but they're always kind of presented in a way that they're like quirky or weird, even down to like the music choices. I licensed a lot of music from a guy named Popstar Nima, who's a really, really great viral internet musician artist. And his songs are like very quirky, very weird. They're designed to make you turn your head and go, huh, what was that song? What did he just say? And I put all of his music under a lot of the action sequences, because your reaction to her kicking everybody's ass is supposed to be, huh? How's she doing this? But then for that final scene, we licensed like just a really, really kick-ass hard rock song. Because I was like, by the end of the film, she's reached the end of her journey, her metamorphosis from ditzy girl who doesn't know what's going on to, immortal badass who's going to take down anybody. And I was like, okay, it's finally time to do an action sequence that's not weird, but an action sequence that is just badass, and it sounds like hopefully I succeeded with that.
You did. And by the way, side note, I did not recognize French Stewart.
Oh yeah.
I did not recognize French Stewart at all as that Russian mob boss.
Yeah. He so what's interesting is French Stewart is actually part of my writers group.
Really?
Which is how I got that connection. And another friend of mine, Tracy Lehman, was shooting a film pretty much at the same time as me. It's called Bob Trevino Likes It. It's an amazing movie. It's complete opposite of my movie. It's a total indie drama tearjerker. It won South by Southwest. And I know we're here to plug my movie, but anybody who's watching this, go check out Tracy's movie too. Bob Trevino Likes It. It's very good. But she cast French Stewart in one of her leads. And when it was time to cast our role, I reached out to French too, because he was somebody that I knew. And he was like, hey, just so you know, I've got a goatee for Tracy's movie. Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. And something that's really interesting is both in my film and in Tracy's film, a lot of people were going, wow, I didn't even recognize French Stewart.
Wow.
And yeah, it's one of those, I don't know. It's like, it's like Superman, how he puts on the glasses and then nobody recognizes him anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's like French Stewart. He grows out the goatee and then nobody recognizes him anymore. But I had a wonderful time working with French. He's so humble, so down to earth, so easy to work with. He came in at like the last minute to do this role. And he was just wonderful.
This movie is amazing, James, and I'm very excited for it. And I really hope I love people. I really hope Mary Sue goes far. And I know there were some seeds of a sequel planted.
Just a few, yeah.
Yeah, just a few, and I think, guys, you'll find that we're going to end spoiler talk now, and you got to watch the movie to find out what we're talking about.
Yes.
All right, so as we start writing down the interview, where can my audience find more about your work and also connect with you on social media? And by the way, find out where can they watch Killing Mary Sue?
Yeah, so Killing Mary Sue is going to be on digital on June 13th. The trailer actually just dropped within the last hour. I don't know what day this interview is going to go up, but the trailer is live on YouTube right now. And yeah, to connect with me, find out more about me, I've got a website, jamessunshine.com. I'm James K. Sunshine on Instagram. Yeah, totally open. People reach out. Let's make connections.
Alrighty, and guys, if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast, visit our channels on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOB Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOB And want to find out what my top 100 AGT acts of all time? Want to find out my thoughts on new music? Want to find out my talks about interviews and about movies? Head to the blog at jakes.shake.com. Once again, jakes.shake.com. And I'm very excited to reveal that Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar is officially an American Business Award winning podcast.
Hey.
So thank you, James. So thank you so much to all of the Stevie Awards and all the people, the judges who voted. So thank you from my bottom of my heart. Thank you so much, guys, and I appreciate it. James, you have a bright future ahead of you, my friend. Please come back and visit. I'd love to know your takes on everything. And I'm so excited for Killing Mary Sue.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. This was a great interview. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.